here. Trump's vice presidential running mate J.D. Vance stands on marijuana. Kyle Yeager reporting. I'm also summarizing this article. I'm paraphrasing. I just went through and highlighted some. This is just giving a record, a detailed record of his stance on cannabis, what he's done in the past, and I think we all know, where Ohio has stood rather on cannabis in the past. So let's see what we have here. Former President Donald Trump has selected Senator J.D. Vance, a Republican from Ohio, as his running mate in the 2024 presidential election, a choice that could have implications for marijuana policy if the ticket is ultimately elected, given Trump's mixed records and Vance's opposition to certain modest cannabis reform proposals in the Senate. Vance, who was elected in 2022, doesn't have an extensive cannabis policy record, but his limited actions and comments on the issue indicate that he's aligned with Trump on one key issue. He backs the rights of states to set their own marijuana laws. Excuse me. He also indicated that he's against incarcerating people over low-level possessions, which is great. I think we all agree on that. However, he voted against bipartisan banking legislation that passed in committee and has argued that states that have enacted legalization should increase enforcement activities. With Trump's position on marijuana issues often in flux, his choice for a vice president adds uncertainty to the prospects of advancing reform. But neither Trump nor Vance support adult use legalization, and the running mate's opposition to cannabis banking access doesn't appear to raise the chances of modest legalization moving under the duo. Legalization and policy actions. Vance was among the 9 members of the Senate Banking Committee who voted in the minority against the Secure and Fair Enforcement Regulation, the Safer Banking Act, in September of 2023. Vance said he opposed it in part because he believed it would inadvertently make it easier for illicit operators to traffic other drugs, such as fentanyl. You have to do this in the right way, he told Dills' report of cannabis industry banking access. You obviously want people to have access to financial services, but if you do it the wrong way, you can actually promote illicit activity, and that's what we want to prevent. Past comments and social media posts. The vice presidential candidate has also weighed in on Biden's administration move to reschedule marijuana under federal law, stating that it's never been my particular focus on my particular cause of concern. He also raised doubts about the idea that marijuana banking reform is a priority for the GOP-controlled House. In an interview with Ask a Poll's Matt Laszlo that was published in May of 2024, Vance gave his initial reaction. My view on weed is we have to strike a balance between you don't want people thrown in prison for having a dime bag, he said. That mercifully doesn't happen most of the time in this country. I also think we haven't quite figured out how this new regime coexists with not polluting our public spaces, right? He said, this is like a big frustration that I have. You take your kids downtown Cincinnati to go to a restaurant and you walk by 5 people who are stoned. It smells terrible. I don't want that. I also don't want people getting arrested for, having a dime bag. And I think we have to strike a balance a little bit better. The story does go on, but that was just
good.
That's a highlight. There is more quotes from him. He's not the friendliest guy, but I'd love to hear what everybody has to think, particularly Jason. I want to hear what he has to say in defense of our guy.
Look, can you believe a word the guy says, right? He also said about his new boss, he's a cynical asshole, or he's America's Hitler. He also said Trump is cultural heroin. Okay.
He also said his presidency proved me wrong and proved a lot of people wrong, and that it was one of the best presidencies he's seen. So he did change his mind. Some people are allowed to do that. You blue guys, you can always switch up and get it right. It's not too late.
You guys can always come see the truth.
No, but you hate when a blue guy switches over.
No, we don't. We love it.
Guy switches.
We love it. We love it. Listen, if we could just get you a little purple nurple, we'll be happy.
The red guy changing his mind, or when the red guy changes his mind. And that's the thing. I love what he also said.
People can
Christians,
evolve.
Everyone is watching us when we apologize for this man.
What's the difference between a flip-flopper and an evolver, Jason? Please.
There's a big difference.
Inquiring mind.
I think if you see in practice something that changes your mind for the positive, then fine. Like I think people have. In any situation can have a belief and then see something materialize that's different from what they thought it was going to be. You know, we talk badly about you guys all the time, but we love you.
I got to hand it to Trump. Trump has flipped some staunch people who hate him. Who hate him. Lindsey Graham, Little Marco, right? They all just pimp for him all the time. Ted Cruz, he's another fucking one.
He called his dad the Zodiac Killer. He calls his dad the Zodiac Killer and said his wife is ugly, and you still supporting this dude.
He must be promising them so much fucking money at the end of it all. It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, in all fairness, Todd, Trump has promised every American more money because he's promised to fix our economy.
You know what that means? They can afford more lab tests, Todd.
Their tax system too. I like the tariff talk. I like the tariff talk a lot.
Trump has promised people more money.
Hold on, one at a time.
Promised people more money. Trump has promised people more money because in this next term, they will not be able to decide whether they want that child or not. So they will need that extra money because there will be only babies from unplanned pregnancies. This is not an abortion show, but let's be very clear that this article talked about Mr. Vance's position, which is that he believes all
the VP doesn't have any power.
Federally illegal, including
the VP has absolutely no power. The VP has absolutely no power or any sway.
Tell that to Cheney. Tell that to Cheney.
That's different. Cheney was actually the president because he was running the country. There's a big difference.
Right.
He was running the oil company.
Yeah, Bush was just the front man for Cheney.
He says, Vance also said, to every complex problem, he promises a simple solution. He never offers details for how these plans will work because he can't. Trump's promises are the needle in America's collective vein.
Damn, it sounds like politics.
You guys are so crazy.
This is cultural heroin.
You guys are so angry, and I love it.
Allow people to evolve.
You're going to have a rough next 4 years, but you're going to have more money, so you can cry on a yacht, not a dinghy, and that'll be nice for you guys.
Listen, let me address one.
We'll have more money because Trump is really worried about you and me and our.
I had more money during the last administration than I do during this current one, and I don't think that that's mutually exclusive to me.
Everybody I know in the streets had more money.
One sec. Let's talk about
everyone on the streets had more money.
When Trump gets elected and he fixes the tariff situation with China, is that going to be worse or better for the cannabis operators who are exclusively buying all of their packaging?
Well, in all fairness, we've been telling a lot of cannabis operators that they need to find manufacturing solutions in Taiwan over China for a long time. So if they haven't acted on that, that's only at their behest.
And finding U.S. packaging solutions covers a lot of these things, like the mosquito spray that's sprayed on tanker ships.
How about the death penalty for drug dealers? How about that?
But all of the feeds, all that material comes from China still, right? Even if
who cares?
Label or a packager buying it all. I mean, it's going to take the costs up, right? And people care when the cost of all cannabis products are down.
It's not.
Maybe go buy American.
It's not. Maybe there won't be as many counterfeit products at that point in time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're blowing that thing way out of proportion. Way out of proportion.
I'm just looking ahead. I'm just looking way far ahead.
Death penalty for drug dealers. I just remember Trump said that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you have to understand. You have to understand how to understand Trump talk. Okay, and so when he says that, English. He is referring to like large cartel dealers, large fentanyl dealers, and things like that. He is not referring to your average trapper. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Not even your 1%.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
No. In actuality, he was talking about Rodrigo, whatever his name is, from the Philippines, who was literally killing people on the streets for low-level drug offenses. If they were accused of smoking weed, they were killed by the police. That's who he was referring to.
I'm throwing a whole bunch of water on your gaslight.
Maybe we need to take
Donnie Duterte.
Rico, he would never do anything wrong. Come on.
You guys are crazy.
He would never do it. He's godlike.